So picture this. A world stage, the biggest players clashing, but not with weapons, with words. And the fate of whole nations hanging right there in the balance. Just days after that critical summit up in Alaska, where President Trump and Russia's Vladimir Putin had these really significant talks about, ending the war.
Right, moving beyond just a ceasefire idea.
Exactly, towards maybe a full peace deal, one that might even involve Ukraine giving up some territory.
A huge sticking point, obviously.
Absolutely. And now, bam, the spotlight swings right over to Washington, D.C. This Monday, President Trump's meeting with Ukrainian President Zelenskyy.
But it's not just them, is it?
No, not just a one-on-one. You've got European leaders, NATO figures, think France, Britain, Germany. They're all joining Zelenskyy. It's a big show of unity.
Trying to avoid a repeat of that February meeting, I guess.
You got it. They want to head off anything like that February 28th Oval Office clash. I mean, the media called it an unprecedented public confrontation, even a shouting match.
Yeah, that left everyone wondering about U.S. support for Ukraine, didn't it?
Totally. So our mission in this deep dive, we're going to explore this shifting diplomatic scene, look at the real tensions between these leaders, and, figure out how their different approaches might shape what happens next. Peace or more conflict.
And we're drawing on news reports, think tank analyses, polling data.
Right, all the reliable stuff to try and make sense of this really complex picture for you. Okay, so let's rewind a bit. Let's unpack the backdrop to that fiery February 28th meeting in 2025. Russia's aggression, of course, started way back. Crimea in 2014, then the full invasion in 2022. So by 2025, Ukraine was, heavily dependent on international aid, especially from the West, like the U.S. That's just a crucial factor here.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is the Trump administration's clear goal back then, a fast peace deal.
Yeah, America first, right, cut foreign spending.
Exactly. It lines up perfectly with that core campaign promise. And you have to understand the scale of the U.S. money involved here. It's staggering.
The numbers are all over the place, depending on who you ask.
They are, but they're all huge. Fact checkers estimate, $83 billion already paid out, $57 billion obligated.
Okay.
Congressional Research Service puts total appropriations between 22 and 24 at $182 billion.
Wow.
The Kiel Institute, they calculate U.S. aid at $119.7 billion. DOD says $182.8 billion just for Operation Atlantic Resolve. U.S. News says $128 billion total commitment.
So massive numbers, however you slice it.
Massive. And the key thing, most of it was grants, not loans. So for an America First viewpoint, that huge investment, that's leverage to cut spending, get a deal done fast.
Right. And you could feel the tension building even before that February meeting, couldn't you? Trump was pushing Ukraine for a ceasefire, right now, to start talks. He even implied Ukraine was partly to blame. Called Zelenskyy a dictator once, though he walked that back.
He did, but Zelenskyy, he was digging in, demanding serious security guarantees. He just didn't trust Putin to stick to any deal, said he'd broken them before. And you had Vice President Vance's earlier comment hanging in the air, too, that I don't really care what happens to Ukraine thing from 2022.
Yeah, that definitely set a tone. So with all that simmering, how did the actual meeting on February 28th play out? What went wrong so fast? Well, it was set for 11 a.m., live TV from the Oval Office, supposedly to talk U.S. support and this U.S.-Ukraine Mineral Resources Agreement.
Right, the rare earth minerals deal.
Yeah, a joint fund, U.S. gets access, Ukraine stakes future revenues. But right away, things got weird, symbolically even. Zelenskyy shows up in his usual military gear.
Not a suit.
Nope. Officials asked him to wear one, he refused. Trump makes that sarcastic comment, all dressed up today. Then a pro-Trump reporter actually asks Zelenskyy about his clothes, and Zelenskyy shoots back he'll wear a suit after the war is finished.
So tense from the get-go.
Oh, yeah. And the conversation, it just went downhill fast. Trump gets asked about maybe being too aligned with Putin. He snaps back, I'm aligned with the United States of America.
Vance jumps in, talks about engaging in diplomacy.
But Zelenskyy wasn't having it. He starts listing all the times Russia broke ceasefires, looks right at Vance and asks, what kind of diplomacy, JD, you were speaking about?
Wow, direct challenge.
And then it just explodes. Zelenskyy is talking about the war's impact, and Trump cuts him off flat. You don't know that. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
Ouch.
Then he lays into him, you don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Accuses him of gambling with millions of lives, gambling with World War III, calls him very disrespectful to this country.
The country backing Ukraine?
Yeah, that's backed you far more than a lot of people said they should have. And then, just like that, Trump stops the meeting, turns to the camera and says, I think we've seen enough. This is going to be great television.
Unbelievable. And the fallout from that, well, the meeting just ended. No resolution. Trump huddled with his team. They decided Zelenskyy was, quote, not in a place to negotiate.
So they asked the Ukrainians to leave.
Basically, yeah. The joint press conference.
Yeah.
Canceled. The minerals agreement signing. Canceled. And then, almost immediately, the administration suspended military and intelligence aid. Only for about a week, mind you.
Until Zelenskyy agreed to that ceasefire.
That unconditional 30-day ceasefire, yeah. Which, and this is crucial, Russia then turned around and rejected anyway, so the whole pressure tactic was kind of undermined.
Man, that must have sent shockwaves everywhere. How did the media, the politicians, react to that kind of public blow-up? Oh, it dominated headlines globally. Fiery, confrontational, explosive confrontation. Those words were everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
CNN even did this count. Found Zelenskyy had thanked the U.S. publicly, in English, at least 33 times since early 2022. Directly countering that narrative about him being ungrateful.
Right.
And the Washington Post had that really sharp line saying Trump sounded more like Don Corleone than an American president.
Yeah, I remember that.
Politically, though, the reaction was split right down the middle, wasn't it?
Starkly divided. You had most Republican senators, people like Mike Lee, Jim Banks, really backing Trump and Vance, said they were standing up to our country, putting America first.
And they criticized Zelenskyy pretty harshly.
Oh, yeah. Accused him of ungratefully expecting us to bankroll the war, being disrespectful. Lindsey Graham even said Zelenskyy should resign.
But not all Republicans felt that way.
No, you had some moderates expressing real concern, calling it a bad day for America's foreign policy.
And the Democrats.
They mostly rallied around Zelenskyy. One senator fired back, calling Trump and Vance ventriloquist dummies for Putin. So very polarized. So what about the American public? How do they read this whole situation?
Well, polls gave us some insight. A YouGov poll back in March 2025 found 51% thought Trump was disrespectful to Zelenskyy. About 32% felt Zelenskyy was disrespectful to Trump.
Okay.
More recently, Pew Research, this was just August 4th to 10th, found 59% of Americans lack confidence in Trump's handling of the war.
That's a majority.
It is. Now, 33% think he favors Russia too much. That's actually down 10 points since March. And 28% think he's striking the right balance.
Interesting. What about among Republicans?
That's where you see a real shift. The share saying Trump favors Russia too much plummeted to just 10%. And now half, 50%, think he's got the balance right.
So within his base, it seems there's maybe a desire for that decisive approach, balancing U.S. interests but wanting a quick resolution.
Seems that way. And internationally.
Yeah.
Big reactions there, too.
Oh, absolutely. A lot of European countries called it a diplomatic disaster, talked about a new era of ruthlessness. They doubled down on supporting Ukraine.
But not everyone.
Not everyone. You had leaders like Orban in Hungary, Kobakidze in Georgia, actually siding with Trump, calling for peace, criticizing the deep state and then global war party.
Right. Using that kind of language suggesting hidden forces prolonging the war.
Exactly. And even Russian state media, well, maybe a bit shocked, they mostly supported Trump's actions. One official just calls Zelenskyy an ungrateful swine.
So, a real mess. And finding a path to peace looks tricky.
Very tricky. Ukraine has its own plan, right? The peace formula. 10 points laid out back in 2022. Lots of European and NATO support for it. But Russia's foreign minister just dismissed it, said it's not feasible. Big gap there. And then you have these other players, the sort of third-party mediators, Brazil, China, India, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Turkey.
What's their angle in all this?
Well, sources say it's often mostly transactional. They're looking out for their own status in this shifting world order. Many have closer economic ties to Russia, frankly.
Okay.
And they tend to see the war as just an obstacle to dealing with other global problems. Some even believe the West kind of co-created the situation, that Ukraine pushing for NATO was a provocation.
That's a very different perspective.
It is. And many of them think Russia fundamentally cares more about Ukraine than the rest does. So from their point of view, maybe Ukraine giving up territory is just inevitable, the only way to actually get peace.
Especially if they doubt Western support holding up under Trump.
Precisely. So they might see compromise on territory as like a necessary evil to stop the fighting and stabilize things, even if it means Russia gains.
It really puts the U.S. role in perspective, though. That Global Public Policy Institute insight.
Yeah, pretty stark. The only deal broker with leverage and diplomatic capacity substantial enough to pull off a negotiation accepted by all sides was and remains the U.S. Huge weight on Washington.
Which brings us right back to today, August 17th. And everyone's waiting for this meeting on Monday in D.C.,
Right. And the big difference this time is those European leaders joining Zelenskyy.
trying to project that united front, a common purpose. They want to shape this fast-evolving agenda, basically.
And definitely avoid another shouting match.
Absolutely. But can they succeed? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is, because reports suggest Trump is still minded to take up Putin's suggestion on Ukrainian territorial concessions.
Which is a total non-starter for Zelenskyy and the Europeans. They've been crystal clear. No ceding land.
Zelenskyy keeps saying his security guarantee is a strong army. Europe can fund it, he says, but the really critical weapons only available in the United States.
And he won't negotiate under duress. Impossible to do this under the pressure of weapons, he said.
So that core tension is still right there, isn't it? Trump pushing for a direct peace deal now, Zelenskyy demanding security and a real ceasefire first.
Yeah. That Rand Corporation analysis really summed it up, didn't it? Lasting peace seems implausible at present, unless one side completely caves to the other's vision. The politics just look intractable. So we've kind of walked through this tangled web of diplomacy, from that explosive Oval Office meeting to this attempt now by European leaders to create a united front. What seems really clear is that Ukraine's future, and honestly, European security too, it's all massively tied to what happens, the dynamics inside that Oval Office.
And it highlights this fundamental split in philosophy, doesn't it? You've got this direct, maybe even blunt, results-focused push for peace, even if it means tough concessions, versus a stance that prioritizes sovereignty, long-term security, refusing to give ground on principles. Which leaves us with a pretty challenging question for you, the listener, to think about. In this messy, turbulent world we're in, is a quick, maybe transactional deal one that stops the fighting now, even if it involves major territorial compromise? Is that a more pragmatic choice than holding out, maybe for a long time, for an ideal outcome that might just be unattainable?